body betrays your degeneracy.
Yeah, Measurehead. His body totally betrays his degeneracy.
Occidental Haplogroup B4 is done giving orders around here. The influence of the ham sandwich race is waning.
Disco Elysium is a masterpiece in a class all on its own, really lightning in a bottle personified. In a game that I'll be thinking about probably until I die, you know, just one of those pieces of art that makes you think a lot forever. Every aspect of it deserves its own essay, but today I'm going to be honing in on one character in particular. I'm the Rat Shepherd, and today we're going to delve into why Measurehead is my most favorite racist in all media. I'm going to keep this video pretty spoiler-free. Measurehead appears in the beginning of the game, and I will be talking about his dialogue and ways to get past him, but otherwise, I'm not going to talk about the grander plot of Disco Elysium, just to set up, and I'll also mention the racist lorry driver as well. But yeah, for the most part, this is going to be spoiler-free. Disco Elysium is just a game you gotta experience, and I hope that this does not ruin it for you. In Disco Elysium, you play as Detective Harry Dubois, who is in charge of investigating a murder. The problem is, Harry had a teensy little bender upon arriving at the scene of the crime and got a super mild case of astute retrograde amnesia. So Harry, and therefore the player, doesn't know much about anything. Oh, and the body that you were sent to investigate has been hanging from a tree, ass naked, for a whole week, all the while being pelted by rocks by the local kids. It's kind of a mess. To properly conduct your investigation, you must talk to the dock union leader, Everett Clare, but the path to him is blocked off by a towering, tattooed white supremacist named Measurehead. Measurehead is interesting. You do meet other racists throughout the game, including the racist lorry driver I mentioned, as well as a few others that I won't spoil, but is somewhat hinted at by some later dialogue by Kim right here.
I think this racist is better than the last, but the next racist will be the really good one.
That will be the...
He will grant us 3 wishes.
But what separates Measurehead from your typical racist, aside from his intimidating size and his tattoos and his deep Creole French accent, is that his racism is wrapped up in what sounds like, at first, something somewhat scientific and rigorous, but is in fact a bundle of self-contradicting mumbo-jumbo jargon. This is not your grandfather's racism. This is something more. This is the racism of a guy who spent way too much online, or in the context of Disco Elysium, because it's before internet in their timeline, just has read a lot of weird books and magazines on the subject. It's the kind of racism that assholes used to justify their bigotry 100 years ago when they literally would measure skulls of other races. What I'm saying is, it's basically astrology for men. And look, if you like astrology, that's fine, but let's be real. They're both mechanisms of judging people for qualities that are beyond their control. And I really don't like that essentialist stuff. Measuring heads and judging your personality via your cheekbones, to me, is just as ludicrous as the stars and planets dictating your personality, but I digress. To get past Measurehead, there's a few ways to do it depending on your stats. You can simply roundhouse kick him and knock him out cold, which is always satisfying. You could find a way around him by jumping off a ledge to another platform. Or, if you adopt his advanced race theory, he will push the button on the gate and let you through. If you ask, he will go at length to describe the pros and cons of various races.
There are 3 categories of race. Type A, the heroic races. Type B, the servile races. And the vile CF race cauldron of pederasty. Which one do you need an occasion on? Those are the Simonese, the Areopagite, and the Occidentals, excluding the Maun, of course. The Maun are riddled with eczema to the point where they find it impossible to smile. They are all lactose intolerant, a common result of inbreeding.
Mahoon is a derogative term for first world people of Gotvaldian descent. They do not all have eczema. Also, people of Katla, like the Suru and the Huhu, are much more lactose intolerant.
Because Disco Elysium is set in a fictional world and not our own, it could be a bit confusing because first-time players will have no knowledge of any of the places and people he mentions, but the underlying logic is the same. That is to say, it's just made-up facts about people from faraway lands that he takes as face value, and he expects others to take as face value, wrapping up in smarter-sounding words while really saying nothing at all. Real-life racists do this all the time, most notably now with the current story of the Haitian migrants eating cats. It's the same shit with Measurehead, and like actual real-life racists, skin color sometimes has little to do with it. Take, for example, the Kochko he mentions, and I'll probably mispronounce that because I'm not currently looking at the footage, but whatever. Measurehead describes them as muddy, and that pinkness is something that must be earned.
The Koikos and the Vacholier, they are mud-colored people.
The Koikos of Grad, Yugo, Zhimsk, Chest et al. Are what you would call white, officer, in a suspect description.
Yes, to an untrained eye, the Koiko appear white and pinkish, like a hands-on witch. But look into their eyes and you will see. They are of an indistinct color, and so is their skin. Unhealthy, muddy, and ashen. Pinkness is a racial quality that has to be earned through centuries of advanced ballistic warfare and cultural domination that the Grad people have undergone for drinking Alrul and smoking the degenerate tobacco, and for eating potato.
Amusingly, his babe, who chimes in every now and then and is also of that race, which is something your character can notice if you have high enough perception, but I guess he doesn't mind. You see, Measurehead contradicting himself is pretty common, if you know where to look. For example, he talks highly about the Simonese people, the race he claims to be, and why they are better. You could point out that Simonese people invented disco, which he laments as a mistake, among other things.
Offshoots of the Simonese people invented disco while having sex under the influence of cocaine. It is a shame upon my race. But what is done is done.
And you could also point out that he is not actually Simonese, where he then confesses he was born in Revachol and has heard the stuff on the radio.
I am a descendant. No. I have heard about it on the radio.
Which is very much like how Trump heard about the migrant Haitian things when he talked about it during the debate. He just said, yeah, I saw it on TV. That's the line of reasoning that Measurehead and people like this have. They heard it on the radio and it conforms to their biases, and that it has to be true. Measurehead is talking about an imagined past that is very far from reality. You could even point out that his tattoos, which are meant to flex his physiological perfection, are not fully accurate and hide a thing or two about him. And when you really strip his ideology down to the essential parts, it's clear that it's mostly about rationalizing his weird feelings and insecurity around women, which is really at the heart of why fascists believe fascism. It's always about women and feeling weird about women. It's just, fascism is about being weird in general and thinking that you're not the weird one, that society is weird and deranged, even though you're thinking about how long you haven't nutted in a while. And these kind of people will feel like a sense of pride for not masturbating for a couple of days, which I don't know why that's important to them, but it is. It's weird. I don't know. I'm not like that.
Racists are generally not very good examples of their race.
A while back, I stumbled on a Reddit post that is partly the inspiration for this video. What does Measurehead talk about? From a non-native English speaker. They were wondering if their English was bad or if what he was saying was just nonsense. And yeah, what Measurehead is saying is just nonsense, surrounded by technical jargon to puff it up and sound more than what it seems. He will talk and talk and talk about what comes down to feeling weird about potatoes, retaining semen, and measuring the skulls of other races and having that dictate their personality. What's fascinating to me and why I think Measurehead is my favorite racist, beyond the impeccable voice line delivery by musician Amar Sohali, besides the fact that he calls alcohol alcohol,
The walls will be lined with bottles of alcohol.
and he also calls Harry part of the ham sandwich race,
Am sandwich race.
is that nowadays in 2024, this sort of rhetoric's kind of normal. It used to not be. I think when this game was written, this sort of stuff is more on the fringes, but now it's 2024 and we have Measurehead talking points in national debates. The bigotry is the point here, nothing else matters. Really, the heart of the matter and what the game gets so right and why I love Disco Elysium so much is that racists don't really believe in truth the way like a leftist or a liberal, you know, like you could disagree with us, sure, but we do believe that out there somewhere is capital T truth. Now, can we see it? Can we ascertain it? I don't know, but there are facts and there are objective parts of reality. We could strive to understand those things, but to the far right, to racists like Measurehead, the truth doesn't exist. It's just a tool to use as a way of power. You see, leftists never really hide from our beliefs. Regardless if it makes us look weird or not, we do own up for it. Like, if you were to ask me, hey, Rat Shepherd, do you believe that the bourgeoisie are not human? Which is a line that comes up from a character later in the game that I won't spoil for you, but if you ask me that, I would say yes. I do not believe that the bourgeoisie are human. And outside of that context, if you don't know anything else, that sounds kind of a bit deranged, right? But I could justify it. I could explain why I believe that the bourgeoisie lack humanity. But when you ask a racist or a far-right person what they believe in very direct things, in very direct terms, if you ask a racist, hey, do you believe that some races are intrinsically better than others? They often won't give you a straight answer. They'll just justify it in mumbo-jumbo bullshit, much like Measurehead does. They're pussies. They're weak. I hate them. And Measurehead's such a great example of this. The writers of Disco Elysium get that archetype so right because he's so big and strong, yet he is a hollow man on the inside. And that at the end of the day, all of his beliefs just stem from being weird about women, wanting to retain semen, feeling weird about potatoes or whatever the fuck he was talking about earlier.
And for eating potato.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say on the matter. Given the political climate right now, I felt like making this video was pretty pertinent. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this. I'm the Rat Shepherd. If you like this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe. That would be so nice. And yeah, I'll see y'all around for the next one.